George Morgan here and Jack Canat. All the lights are currently lit here on track, and it is go, go, go!
Down through the Mercedes teammate.
Denoso with a crafty manoeuvre up the inside. Masterclass from the Chilean.
Crucial championship points on offer here.
Do not count out Danny Berezne.
Longe has done the job. This is for the win between these two.
Freddie Rasmussen wins the United States Grand Prix.
Alfie Butcher wins for the first time ever. Lucas Blakely takes the championship. It's Barry Foreman.
Jarno Opmeer is your champion.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to PSGL. It is season 38. It is round 4 in F2, and we are at the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Canada. I am, of course, Alex Heron, also known as Deathlink 10, and I am joined by my good friend and colleague, Tom Knight, also known as TK, also known as they call me TK. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing very well. Looking forward to another outing here in PSGL. Of course, we've seen some exhilarating racing over the last 3 seasons. We had a fantastic race last time out in Spa-Francorchamps, concluding in, well, let's just say a rather nasty accident down the Kemmel Straight.
Yeah, we certainly did, and that nasty accident has deemed one of our drivers with a qualifying ban for this race. We'll go into that in a couple of moments' time, but we have cars out on track here, TK. Shall we get to the action here in our, obviously, qualifying session?
Let's do it. Switch over and watch to the grid. Here we go. Q1, ignore that. It's a short qualifying session, 18 minutes for our drivers to set the fastest lap times that they quite possibly can. And the driver at the top of the time at the moment, Liam Stevens, will be the driver falling foul of that qualifying ban.
It certainly is. We saw the nasty accident that happened in Spa, and the stewards have deemed it of a qualifying ban, so he'll be starting at the back of the grid. Now, Harvey Cohen is going to be our first one to start a lap here in the Haas car as he races down into the very tricky and fast Sector 1 here at the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve.
Certainly does indeed, manage to take the first couple of corners nice and well in the beautiful MoneyGram Haas car in towards the first of the tight and technical chicanes. And if you get these wrong, this is not only lap time over, but potentially race over as well.
Certainly is. It is a street circuit after all. It is a fantastic track. Really tight, twisty nature. We go into a very tight right-hander and then switching it back to the left, getting the power up the hill before the heavy braking zone of the hairpin. We've seen an overtake around here. We've seen a crash around here in the past few years, and now down the back straight with the long DRS straight.
Yep, long DRS straight indeed. Rear wing opens just about now, and there we go. The rear wing separating itself like the Red Sea in towards the final couple of corners. He will run, and he'll set down the gauntlet for the rest of the other drivers, of course, if they manage to keep themselves out of the infamous Wall of Champions. First time on the board is a 108.138 from the RAG driver.
And it's the lap they're all going to be chasing. I believe Sergio invalidated his lap, so that is why he didn't go on the timesheet, because he was the next one to cross the line. Leo Lund with a 107.7 there. Riccardo Benzoni 178. Angelo with a 178 as well. Keep an eye on the Williams drivers who have just crossed the line, but have been, I think, are just going for their laps now. As where's Toppy? Yeah, he invalidated his lap. So both Williams drivers yet to put a lap time on the board. But it's not uncommon to see invalidations around TK because of the track limits around this circuit. Because you've got to be on the edge to get your lap time. But if you get slightly over the edge, that's your lap gone.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I'm riding on board with Luca Rapassa on his way through the second sector. And let's see what the PSF1 champion can do. Oh, massive slide in towards that chicane, the rear end of the car, not wanting to stay in line with his front wheels. How has he managed to catch that?
Well, he's done a very good job of it and absolutely pulling up, but basically pulled the handbrake there going into that corner just to get the car turned around. Of course, these cars don't have any handbrakes. He just locked the rear tyres up. Now, down the back straight, DRS wide open here for the infamous corner, which has taken many a champion out, but he's decided not to go for it and makes me look silly because he's come into the pits.
Yeah, he has indeed. We're keeping an eye. I think everybody's coming into the pit lane who invalidated their opening run. Not to be overly surprising as Tiers Korsman already sets out for run 2, Electric Boogaloo, in towards this first sector.
And what we should point out for new viewers here at PSGL, first of all, welcome to PSGL. Now, you're probably looking at some of the cars and wondering, why are they ghosted? Now, you don't have to call the Ghostbusters, don't worry. We run with cars being ghosted, no collisions on in qualifying, because of the slipstream effect in this year's game. It turns off slipstream, so drivers don't get an unfair advantage. That does mean we have a lobby reset before the start of the main race, which basically TK is going to allow our drivers to use all the sets of tyres. Because the circuit is so short, and because they get 4 sets of tyres, means we're going to see a lot of lap times around this circuit.
Yeah, I think we're going to see, well, the maximum, potentially 3 or 4 runs from the majority of our drivers. And Tiers Korsman will be starting the second, or well, first set of runs from majority of drivers, of course, burning up that original set of tyres on their first invalidated lap. And he will go to try and chase down the times set by Leo Lund up rather, at the top of our timing screens.
At 107.7, the only driver to get into the .7s so far, but Angelo not too far behind, less than a tenth behind there in the Mercedes, and then of course Riccardo Benzoni even closer to Angelo there. Of course, this grid is incredibly close. This is the second best drivers you can. But if you want to say, TK, these are technically your best drivers below that proper professional esport level.
Yeah, exactly that. I mean, you'd argue they are the best of the bunch outside of those 10 organised esports teams that represent the real-life F1 teams, of course. And the drivers here, essentially, are trying to chase down a contract with them if they haven't got one already. I think the vast majority of drivers in this in PCF2 have got some sort of contract to their name. Some of them will have team names in them. I think both Luca Rapassa and Angelo D'Artenzio, of course, the 2 Mercedes drivers running under the Veloce Academy at the moment. But Tiers Korsman has invalidated their run. Did a 107.9, so would have put him P5 at the moment. But drivers are just showing how easy it is to not only invalidate one run, but now their second run as well.
Well, the thing is, it's that final chicane. It's that final chicane, TK. And I mean, the amount of drivers we've seen trying just because you've got to slam the chicane really to gain the most time. But if you hit one curb wrong, you're going to invalidate. As Seisman gets through very nicely there, he's going to come up to the line in the McLaren. I think it's going to be a good lap, and it's not only a good lap, it's a great lap, which puts him 2/10 clear of Leo Lund and puts him on provisional pole.
Certainly does indeed. Things are looking up for Simon at the moment. Watching with Kamel here around the final corner for himself. Where can he place the Scuderia at his first time of asking? And it's quickest by 4 thousandths of a second.
Now that is a time to be proud of, but it shows how close this grid is. Toppe is going to be the next one to cross the line in the Williams car. We know how fast they've been this year. Is he going to put it on provisional pole? And you're damn right he is. He goes on to the fastest time, 107.503. And he goes, well, 60 thousandths faster than Camille. But we've seen how good these Williams are. There's a reason why they are 1-2 in the championship right now.
Very, very true. They've looked incredibly quick over the last few races, with opening 3 of the season as well. 10 minutes to go in our qualifying session. And as we've said, We're only halfway through. Drivers are still coming across the line. Jan puts his car P5 for the Aston Martin at the moment. As we see drivers already starting to peel back in towards the pit. Simon will lead all of our drivers in. But yet four drivers without a lap time at the moment. There'll be Luca Rapassa, as one does just set it. That will be, I believe, the McLaren of Ben Marple's P16. Something must have gone wrong for himself. But Lucas Rapassa, Felipe Sousa and T.S. Korsman all yet to set a lap time here.
Yeah, I doubt that's a representable lap time from Marples with a 1:12.5. I think he backed out of his lap, possibly in the middle sector. Let's see if he's going for another lap here. But it looks like he's not using his ERS, so I think he's going to do another in lap and then go again. He's still got time, still got 9 minutes left on the clock. As you said, there is people coming already out for their third runs. Normally, we'd say third run is the final run, but we're still 9 minutes on the clock. I expect to see a fourth run for some of these drivers.
Yep, I would expect to see a fourth run from the majority of our drivers here this afternoon. I'm watching on board with Felipe Sousa running up towards the wall of champions. Just behind him is Luca Rapassa, 2 drivers yet to set lap times here. I stand corrected. Luca Rapassa was just ahead, down up in P8 now, as his teammate dives into the pits under Angelo Tertenzio. Felipe Sousa goes 10th on the board. That leaves T.S. Korsman, the only driver yet to set a lap time, but he is out on his outlap.
Yeah, he certainly is. Invalidated his outlap as well, but he's just getting it out of the way so he doesn't invalidate his main lap.
That's all what it means, of course, just making sure he gets those track limits kind of out of his system nice and early on, and we are approaching that halfway mark in qualifying. Well, we're actually over halfway mark in qualifying. That's my mental math showing how bad it is at the moment. But as it stands, top 8, well, he tops the timing sheet by 57 thousandths of a second.
And the top 17 TK covered by 0.8 of a second.
That is insane.
I mean, we know it's a short circuit. Obviously, short circuits always have the closer lap times. We've seen it in PSGL, in tracks like Austria, and tracks like Qatar. But I mean, in real life, again, you remember we've seen remember out of Bahrain, how close lap times were around there because of how short that circuit was. And I mean, it's fantastic to see. We love to see close racing. And Leoland, I believe, looks like he's backed out of this lap here, TK, because he's unfortunately gone 3 seconds slower in the middle sector.
Yep, it's I think you're reaching that sort of stage in qualifying where if it's not going to be perfect, you need to reevaluate, maybe go back in towards the pit lane, get a new set of tyres on, and go for one final run when it really matters. But T.S. Korsman at the moment making good time. He's got the rear wing open. He's got a couple cars warming their tyres behind him, but the Wall of Champions slowly starting to summon him.
Yeah, here we go. This is where he's gone wrong on these last 2 laps, but he's made it work this time. Or has he? Because he's hit the Wall of Champions. But he might keep going here, and he's going to have to. He crosses the line, goes 10th fastest, but how much time did that lose? Probably a couple of tenths of a second.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. A couple of tenths of a second. Daniel up towards the line now. Can they improve? They can. Purple third sector to boot as well. It was almost perfect Wall of Champions chicane. And he is up to P7 107.836 for the Kick Sauber at the moment. It's both Mercedes heading out in the next couple of moments. They're on their outlaps as we speak, followed by the Aston Martins and Rishan Jacobs, who's invalidated their lap.
And they're down in 18th place right now, not where they'd want to be starting. Riccardo Benzoni, on the other hand, is looking on a pretty good lap time here. Just hit the middle sector. He's a 10th up in the middle sector. He matched his first sector time. So if he can get a good third sector here, or do you think he's going to dive into the pits to go for one last lap? Or the fact that he's dumping that battery makes me think this could be his one and only, last lap of qualifying.
Well, I'd almost argue in theory you've got enough time to do an in-lap and then an out-lap, and Simon goes quickest there, 107.3.
And Benzoni crosses the line and does a 107.4. And yeah, that was a cracking lap from Seisman. Once again, proving his pace here in qualifying. And the McLaren is on provisional pole as it stands, but there's still some times to go. Top 8 crosses the line. He invalidated his last one. Nelson Alves, I believe, has just finished a lap, or is just starting one. Couple of drivers still to set representative lap times. I think Ben Marples has got a much better lap in him, because right now it's a McLaren sandwich, 19th and first, as I believe, who's just jumped up the timesheet there? As Angelo's just jumped up to P5, I believe.
Yep, he will do indeed. It will be the Aston Martin of Richard Jacobs up to P4. His teammate Jans invalidated their run behind them. The V Cub, I'm going to assume with Felipe Sousa just starting one of their runs. Ben Marple's coming up to the line as well, just to start off. Surely what will be either their last or their penultimate runs here.
Tope just going through the middle sector. He's a 10th down there in the middle sector, Tope. So I don't think this is going to be a representable lap time. I mean, that's crazy me saying that. You know, in a normal lobby, a 10th down is you can make that back up. But in a lobby like this, TK, the 10th down is basically a lap over.
Yeah, very, very true. It's a real mix and go, touch and go moment when you're so close together. I mean, if you look at the grid at the moment, the top 18 split by less than a second, 107.3 to 108.1. Of course, Ben Marples, who we think has got a lot more in him here. But Felipe Sousa has gone purple in the middle sector, down in P16 at the moment.
Interesting. And Ben Marples has just gone purple in the middle sector as well. And Angelo has retired in the pits.
He's crashed into the pit wall.
Oh, my Lord. What a mistake.
I actually don't know how he's managed that.
We reckon it could be a wheel problem.
Could be a last-minute call from the team to pull him in. Felipe Sousa invalidated their run, so we'll have to go again. Marples, P6.
Oh. If that's his last lap of qualifying, I think he'll be pretty happy about that.
It's going to be close. Angelo will be kicking himself, and by apparently the pit wall at the same time. With 3 minutes and 20 seconds left on the clock, he's kind of just thrown away a shot at top step of this qualifying order.
And I wonder what's happened there. Maybe I don't know if his engineer is in chat. Obviously, we've commentated on Angelo a lot. We commentated on a little bit in F3 last season, TK. And I mean, he'd never been prone to that kind of mistake.
No, that's a commentary. I've crashed into a pit wall.
I mean, it's a very strange incident. It's not the easiest pit entry here. But especially since cars are ghosted as well, you can't say there was a car in front of him.
You say it's not the easiest pit entry. It is straight off the back straight.
My only guess is it was a wheel problem.
Yeah, mechanical issue.
Has to be a mechanical issue. Because I don't see Angelo making that kind of mistake. But anyway, we move on. We still have our final laps of qualifying to go as people will now start flooding out the pit lane here, TK. And we like to do this here, F2. Get your predictions in chat, who you think is going to take pole position. But TK, I want to know who you think is going to take pole position.
Ooh, 2 minutes on the clock. I mean, Seisman looks like a good bet, but if you're not putting a bet on top, maybe to come top spot. That's where my money's going this week.
Money going this week. I think that's a good bet. You know what? I'm gonna put a wild card here. I think it's gonna be Camille in 5th place. He's gonna
bold strategy. I mean, can I put a collective bet on either of the Williams to come out on top? Because they've looked very, very strong in our opening rounds.
I mean, they have. There's a reason why they're 1-2. We'll go to the standings while waiting for the lobby reset. But now, qualifying is underway for the final laps here. Harvey Cohen is on a lap that's improving. He's going to be the first of these drivers to cross the line. Currently sitting in 19th place, but 19th place is not that far away from, say, 8th place. You've got to find a few tenths of a second, and you're going to climb up the grid. And here comes Harvey Cohen down the back straight now. DRS wide open, using that battery to its full advantage, hitting those curves. Can you keep it validated? Of course he can. Oh, but he crashed into the wall of champions. He's done what Kevin Magnussen did here in 2019, and it's the same incident, but the yellow flag's not going to cause any problems as we race up towards the line. Who else can improve their lap times?
Well, trying to keep an eye. It will be the Red Bull across the line next. I don't know who that was. I think potentially T.S. Korsman starting their lap. Daniel comes to start their final run. I think this will be the time of final runs with 30 seconds to go. My goodness, that was scary. I was riding on board with with Harvey Cohen there as he managed to just put it into the wall of champions.
It's legitimately the same incident Kevin Magnussen had so many years ago. Camille just going through the middle sector now. I believe T.S. Korsman invalidated his lap, so he's starting 16th on the grid here with the Red Bull. Ben Marple's just he's going to be very close to the line there, Marples.
Yeah. As he clips the ball.
Oh, he clips the wall. 5 seconds. Is he backed out?
I think he has. Yeah, he's not making it.
He's
Wow.
not going to make it. So Camille just coming up to the line now as he's going to finish what is going to be his last lap of the race. Seisman can't improve. He stays P1. Riccardo Benzoni can't improve. Camille up to the line now. Can he take what is provisional pole here at Canada? No, he can't. He matches his lap time to the literally 1,000th of a second, which means Tope is the only man that can stop Seisman here as he comes up the line. Can Williams take pole here at Canada? No, he can't. He can't do it. He stays third. Is there anyone else on the lap? Nelson Alves is invalidated. Jan to the line can only stay 10th fastest. And I think everyone else is invalidated at their lap. And that could be qualifying over, TK.
Yeah, I think you're right. Just going through the final runners. Felipe Souza is up on their run, but not considerably enough here, I think, to cause any headaches for the drivers up. P16 is where he'll find himself at the moment. As you said, Nelson Alves has invalidated their run. Consistent Lintott throw one in? Nope, he's 4 seconds down his time. And that will be how our drivers qualify. Seidman takes the top spot. Riccardo Benzoni joins him on the front row.
Well, I honestly think I wonder how much that incident in the final corner messed up a few drivers' laps. Because I know they're ghosted, but a human reaction is to lift off when you see a big crash in front of you.
Well, I mean, we've seen it before, and it's still the reason we have the penalties for the ghosting system, that when it's in effect, you can't just stay on the racing line. That's why they're still there, because as you said, you have that tendency to lift off. So, yeah, I wonder how much it compromised some people in towards the Wall of Champions, knowing a car was stranded there.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. It's motorsport at the end of the day. This stuff happens, and we hope the Haas driver is okay. But it's Seisman on pole for the Canadian Grand Prix here at the Circuit Shield. We'll run through the grid order now. So Seisman is on pole from Riccardo Benzoni. Only 28,000 separating them. Then Tope in third, Rishan Jacobs in fourth, Camille in fifth, Ben Marples in sixth, Angelo in seventh, Nelson Alves in eighth, Sergio in ninth, and Jan in the top 10. And we've got Leo Lund, Daniel, Sixten Linhart, Tudor, Daniel again, Felipe Sousa, Luca Rapassa, T.S. Korsman, Harvey Cohen, and Liam Stevens, who had a qualifying ban, starts at the back of the grid. Looks like a spicy Grand Prix with that grid order, TK. But you know what's spicier than this Grand Prix?
What's spicier than this Grand Prix, Alex? Well, I have no words. Fantastic qualifying session. And now we get what I like to call our halftime show. Unfortunately, there'll be no singing from Beyonce, Jay-Z, or anyone powerful enough to go by one name. However, you get essentially a mini podcast with me and Alex for about 5 minutes.
While we reset the lobby and everyone gets retired, and we get to call out any drivers that don't retire straight away, which is our favourite thing. But we are in for quite an exciting Grand Prix. But of course, if you've missed the other PSGL streams, let's catch you up with the standings here. TK has available readily for us. And as you can see, we are 3 rounds in to this 12-round championship, with obviously Canada being the 4th round here. So Nelson Alves tops our standings with 29 points and 1 win to his name. And then his teammate Tope in second place, 28 points with 1 win to his name as well. Then we've got Angelo in third on 23 points. That crash will do no helping to his championship standings. Riccardo Benzoni in fourth on 19 points with 1 win to his name. And then we've got Luca Rapassa and Jan in sixth. But if you look at our pole sitter this afternoon, TK, Seisman, 11th place. The only best place he's finished is fourth, and he's DNF'd 2 out of the 3 races so far this season.
Yeah, it hasn't been the best result from him so far, but if we look at an interesting stat, and now I love a good stat. If you look at the drivers who have all won races here in the opening 3 rounds, none of them have done so from pole position. And as it stands,
Oh,
Seisman probably isn't the best competitor to try and break that score streak. Who knows? We might have a DNF from pole position, but we will wait it out and we will see. Let us know in the live chat if you're, well, how many DNFs you're predicting for this afternoon. That's probably the best way that we're going to go with it. I reckon there'll be a fair few at the Wall of Champions, even as we saw during a qualifying session.
they lost 2 drivers in that qualifying session to DNFs. And the thing is, as well, we've got to remember this will have approximate weather on. And we know Canada loves to give us a little splash of rain. Who can forget Jenson Button's 2011 victory around here from, well, basically last place after penalties, crashes, punctures, all the sort. Can we see something similar this afternoon? And it's a 36-lap race. It's not a long circuit, but it is a long race in terms of tyre wear and in terms of endurance around this circuit. Very different from Spa-Francorchamps we were at just last week.
Yeah, very different indeed. And it shares some characteristics that you have some very high speed corners for our driver to contend with, but at the same time, excuse me, corners are that much closer. You can't afford to take the runoff area. You can't afford to make a mistake on the curbing, and that is where I think the challenge today is really going to come the way of our drivers. But whilst we're talking about where everybody is and what track we're at, should we go ahead and have a look at the track map?
I think we shall. And here is your track map. 14 turns, 2.7 miles, and of course, 3 DRS zones here at the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. It is a fantastically tight, twisty circuit with overtaking opportunities. And of course, as we saw in qualifying, opportunities to end your race in an instant.
Yep, very much so. And it's going to be a lovely one for our drivers to contend with. I think there's a lot of people that do love the Canadian Grand Prix, but when it comes to, let's just say, sim racing and esports, it can turn into a bit of a DRS train. But what I want to see, and if any drivers or engineers are watching, disregard the championship tonight. Go 3 wide into the Wall of Champions.
Yeah, but the thing that I would like to say about this circuit, hopefully, now this is very much hopeful. We know how much the hard tyres are used in this year's game.
Yes, overly so.
The strategy probably is medium hard. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Can we do medium hard and get a 2-stop going?
Or medium, soft, medium.
Or soft, medium.
Or medium, soft.
Do something different, everyone, Or the Canadian gods can give us a lovely little bit of mixed weather conditions and we can get a mixed race, because that is something that we as commentators love.
Yeah.
But as an engineer and as a driver, it is hateful. They just want to race. Seisman right now, he's sitting in his cockpit and all he wants is a clean race from lap 1 to lap 36.
35.
Lap 35, sorry. But let's be honest, that never really happens.
No.
And as we said, as you mentioned, your lovely fact, no driver this season has won from pole position, which is very interesting. We had that a lot in F3 last year as well. It took a while for someone to win from pole. I believe
same
it was
in F1
only...
as well. Just pointing that out.
Yep, same in F1. And of course, in F3 last year, we had the most different race winners in the history of PSGL, in PC tier, I should mention.
Yes.
As well. But,
9 different race winners over 12 races.
So 12 races. And of course, we've had 3 different race winners over 3 rounds so far this season. And maybe we can get a similar sort of record here. But as we mentioned that, the Canadian Grand Prix will be getting underway shortly, TK. And we are going to be in for 35 laps of chaos carnage and some fantastic racing.
Yeah, we certainly are. And get your predictions in the live chat right about now as to who you think will be taking home, well, going home from the top step of the podium. We'll also take some bonus predictions for our earliest DNF. We won't be betting on that, of course, because I think The commentator's curse will do enough to potentially distract some drivers. But who's your early prediction for the race win here, Alex?
I mean, you can't bet against the Williams pair because of how well they've done this season. But I like an underdog from the underground. And I'm going to say, even though he's on pole, Seisman is going to win the Canadian Grand Prix.
I'm going to throw an absolute blinder out there that no one saw
Oh.
coming. Liam Stevens is going to go last to first here at Canada.
I knew you were going to say that. I just knew you were going to, because I was going to say it first. But no, I was like, I'll go the sensible option. I'll let TK take that one. Let's see what the weather is like here at Canada. And it is sunny with a little bit of cloud in the air. I must mention, it's not
For now.
for now. We'll see how it goes. Any engineers in chat want to let us know what the weather is going to do? Please tell us. I believe there is no formation lap, so we will be getting straight.
That's a good point. Let's switch over, and I'll tell you what, it is sunny, but there's certainly clouds in the sky here at Canada.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's like it's overcast. Is probably how I'd say it is around the circuit Gilles Villeneuve. As you can see, the pit lane there, getting all the drivers ready to get started. Drivers have to set their setups again and obviously get their tyre choices sorted. They will have every selection of tyre available to them because, of course, we did reset the lobby, which means they still have all the soft tyre sets if they wanted to use them. I don't think we'll be seeing them unless, of course, fastest lap attempt towards the end of the Grand Prix. We are now just waiting for the start of the Canadian Grand Prix. And obviously your prediction is Liam Stevens from the back of the grid. That'll be quite the result. But here we go. The lights are coming on. We have got 4. We've got 5 red lights here at Canada. And we're underway for the start of the Canadian Grand Prix here in TC F2. It's a good start from our pole sitter as he's already racing into the lead. And he was not even challenged by Riccardo Benzoni into turn 1 as we race up towards turn 2 and 3. And everyone's sort of going in order. And no one going 2 by 2 apart from the Ferrari and the McLaren. But Ben Marples has sorted that one out. And he's up into P5. We've got a couple of drivers battling in the background as drivers trying to go down the inside, getting those early moves done, but not succeeding as it's very tricky to overtake in these opening parts.
Yep, certainly is indeed. The McLaren, of course, still holding the lead of the Grand Prix. Just back from him, Riccardo Benzoni and Toppy making out your top 3 as things stand. The McLaren partnership having a good start to this race as things stand. Ben Marples up to P5. It looks like Tudor might have dropped a couple of positions right off the bat here himself. And T.S. Korsman stepping in the Red Bulls this afternoon. Not having a great race start. But Liam Stevens on 1 lap up 2 positions already.
Yeah, made a cracking double overtake there on the Red Bulls as they were squabbling between each other. As a big defensive move there from one of the Aston Martins as they made a move into the Wall of Champions. It's Leo Lund who takes Jan on the position, and Seidman still leads here on lap 2 ahead of Riccardo Benzoni. As trying around the outside is Daniel into turn 1. It's bold, it's brave, is it brilliant? It certainly is, as they still go wheel to wheel. Will they keep it together on the inside? No, Jan fights his way back because the inside turns to the outside for that corner, and Jan just had the better run.
Yep, he did indeed, just held his nerve for the time being, and that's a good move for P11, or at least holding on to P11 at the moment. Further down, everybody started to settle in well to this Grand Prix. It's around lap 2 until we start to see those tyre windows come in, and we'll have a look at tyres in a brief moment in time. And it looks like Daniel might be going for a move further back. He's trying to catch up to the back of the Alpine and the Ferrari that stands in front of him. Leo Lund's made a move in towards the hairpin.
Leo Lund is on an absolute charge right now through the field in his RB. He is, of course, on the medium tyres. Quick update for your tyre, for your engineers out there. The entire grid is on hards, except for Ben Marples, Leo Lund, Luca Rapassa, T.S. Korsman and Harvey Cohen, who have chosen the medium tyre.
Yep, they have indeed. Oh, Cinciano Martins are so nicely. There we go. Tyres for everybody. Leo Lund with another move. He's up to P8. Fantastic stuff, and really putting the medium tyres to his advantage here.
I mean, that is interesting, because if you look at where Ben Marples is, TK, up in P5, he's on the mediums as well, and he has not made the same sort of impact as Leo Lund has. I know Leo's been pushing, but, I mean, if I was the engineers, the guys out front, I'd be thinking, well, maybe we've got to keep an eye on the guys behind us here.
Yeah, I think that would be the question that they've got at heart at the moment. Angelo Detenzio, P7, will be Leo Lund's next target as we head through towards the hairpin for the third time in this Grand Prix. Seisman still leads from Ricardo from top 8, Rishan Jacobs, Marples and Suchara make up your top 6. Everybody else has started to fall in toward it. It's like Daniel once again has tried to go side by side with Sixten Lindhart through the hairpin and once again hasn't quite worked out in his favour.
Certainly hasn't. Riccardo Benzoni really pressing the back of Seisman here into the first corner. Now this is sort of where you want to make your overtaking moves, either down into the first corner or into the final chicane, as Camille sets the fastest lap time there. And Leo Lund just at the moment stops his charge. I reckon the DRS train is beginning to start here, DK. And this is what you warned us about. It is possible to get stuck in DRS here.
Very, very easy to get caught in DRS here. Of course, 3 zones for our drivers to take the utmost advantage of, and once everybody has that advantage, it doesn't necessarily become much of an advantage anymore. It goes back down to set up in straight line speed, which is still a bit of a miracle considering the McLaren stood at the front of our qualifying grid, still stands at the front of said train, conducting his way through Canada, and so far making it work.
And watch out for Leo Lund. He's not going to go for another move again. He's capitalised on a mistake from Angelo, and he's up into P7. The man is on an absolute rampage here in Canada. He's up into P7. He's made up, let's quickly have a look at the start. He's made up 4 places at the start of this Grand Prix. And he is on an absolute charge. I mean, I'd keep an eye out for this man later into the Grand Prix. We know he's fast, but I didn't think he was this fast around here.
Well, who knows what is possible. I think everybody has started to fall into that trap of getting caught in the DRS. They learned fastest lap of the race.
I mean, that's an interesting thing. I think that's going to open a few eyes up at the guys at the front, because they're conserving their tyres right now. The hard runners want to go long into this Grand Prix. Of course, the medium runners will try and extend as long as they can. That's probably what Ben Marples is doing. But Leo is saying, you know what? I'm just going to go for it. Is there a possibility of a 2-stop in the air, TK?
Well, I don't know whether they'll try and make the 2-stop work. Of course, the DRS train looking very powerful at the moment. But as you said, Ben Marples and Leo Lund really trying to make the medium tyre work as their starting tyre. And the McLaren look to remove their down the inside. Leo Lund does look for a move down the inside of the hair, but he's late on the brakes. And the V-Cup driver with the better traction round the inside. Almighty move past Camille.
Oh, and I mean, that was brave and bold indeed, because I did not think he was going to go for it. Camille looked to close the door, and the door was still open, and Leo was unfortunately in it, and Camille could not close it anymore. Leo Lund is now on the back of Ben Marples, who's on the same tyres, but has not made any positions at the start of this race.
Exactly that. Ben Marples will be slightly nervous now seeing the V-Carb climbing so high in the order at the moment. And I'm sure his engineers will be relaying the message just how eager the V-Carb is to send one down the inside. At any sight of the slightest mistake from the driver that stands in front of him, I think Ben Marples certainly has a lot of cause to be worried.
I mean, Leo Lund is smelling blood at the moment. I don't know what... Well, someone put something in his cereal this morning, that's for sure, because he's on an absolute charge through the field. And obviously, I don't know a lot about some of the drivers in terms of like their track specialties, but I'm going to guess Leo London might be a big fan of Canada.
Yeah, we're hearing in chat, at least from the YouTube chat, Ben is a massive fan of Canada, and that would explain why he's managing to hold on to good pace. But at the moment, he's not making the mediums work as much as you'd be expecting him to. Try and get through the field. There's been a move, change for the lead of the race though. Ricardo Benzoni and Toppy, they're not going to make it too wide, no. The Williams just backing out there in towards the wall of champions, but Ricardo Benzoni will take the lead of the Grand Prix. Toppy will move into P2 for the time being, and Seisman, who's led for the opening 6 laps of this Grand Prix, decides his time to slot in is now.
Certainly is, and I mean, Seisman tried to get back there on top 8, but interestingly enough, of course, he was behind going into the DRS detection zone, which means the 2 in front of him actually got DRS, and Seisman was left in the cold. Luckily, Rishan Jacobs wasn't close enough to make that move on him, because otherwise that could have been another place lost to Seisman there. Ben Marples, of course, Seisman's teammate, trying to close in on Rishan Jacobs, but not really making any inroads, unlike the man behind him, Leo Lund, who's on the same set of tyres.
Yeah, very much so, and at the moment the party of McLarens could be working the team game. Of course, Seisman, Ben Marples, sandwich again that Aston Martin, who's having to play attack and defence on 2 strings at the same time, and Ben Marple's just tapping the rear gearbox of the Aston Martin, reminding him that he's there as Luca Rapassa gets a move done for P14 on Daniel. Daniel immediately getting it back out of the traction zone of that hairpin. But let's see if anyone goes for anything into the final couple of corners here.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see as we're going to watch. I'm watching Leo Lund right now, just flying it through the sector, but I see an Aston Martin lining up for a move there, and he is going to go for a move. Here comes Jan. Is he going to go down the inside into first corner? He certainly will. Oh, a little bit of contact there between the Kick Sauber and the Aston Martin. Seeing a bit of rubbing is racing, but no real damage to report from the 2 drivers.
Yep, so far so good, and I wonder potentially if that's a little bit of well, compensation for last time out at Spa-Francorchamps when Sergio found the barrier quite dramatically down the Kemmel Straight, and this time defending like a lion down in P10, holding on to the last of the points paying positions here. Angelo not far off the back of the Scuderia of Camille as we head in towards the 3rd section, down towards the hairpin, and everybody once again just finding their feet, settling in to the pack. Angelo thought about a move down the inside, he switches to the outside, tries to hang it around, doesn't necessarily have the traction this time.
Not enough grip on that outside line compared to the inside. It was bold, but it was bold and brave, but unfortunately it was not the right move. And Camille thought about a move there on Leo Lund. I think Leo was charging a little bit of battery going down the back straight. But Camille is right on the back here, but Leo is also right on the back of Marples. And Marples is right on the back of Rishan Jacobs. This is the problem with this circuit. You can get caught in this DRS straight. And you've got to make moves in places you don't expect, like Leo was doing early on in the Grand Prix.
Yeah, I think half the issue there, though, Leo started to make those moves in places where you don't typically see moves made, and that has made the entire grid a lot more wary of those chances just to send a wheel down the inside, potentially be ahead at the apex. And obviously, so far, he hasn't been able to best off Ben Marples at the moment, who started on the same tyre as him. But I think it's a question of if not when that V-carb manages to get past.
Yeah, I mean, that V-carb clearly has got a lot of pace in it this afternoon. We've seen that Leo's been able to, well, control it, handle it through these corners on this medium tyre. And unfortunately, Marples is not allowed to do that. Oh, I thought Leo was going to go down the inside. Marples left the room for him. Angelo, on the other hand, did make that move down the inside, but Camille fought him back, and they go wheel to wheel now down the back straight. They're going to get a lovely double slipstream here from Leo Lund as Tope takes the lead of the Canadian Grand Prix. And we're going to see a move into the Wall of Champions. We certainly are, as Angelo takes 7th place away from Camille. And are we going to see a change for 2nd place? I think we are. Seisman's going to go for it. Oh, he thought about it down the inside of Tope, but it was too far back on this occasion. But Seisman now back into 2nd. Tope now in the lead of the Grand Prix.
Certainly is indeed. The Williams of Nelson Alves as well, starting to make up positions. He's up to P8 after Camille got passed by Angelo D'Atencio in towards the hairpin, out of the hairpin rather, managing to get that traction down. And of course the Williams starting to follow him through. Both of the drivers look very, very quick over the opening 3 rounds of the season so far, as Lucas Rapassa gets the first penalty to add to our drivers' totals. But the top 4 have been rather patient at the moment. Rishan Jacobs just standing at the moment between himself and the podium. He's happy and content just standing there, not eagerly awaiting a move past Riccardo Benzoni or any of the other top 3. And Ben Marples at the moment hasn't been able to best out that Aston Martin.
Yeah, and you think about it, those hard tyres are only going to get better the longer they're on. I know that sounds silly, but to be honest with you, the mediums behind are going to wear a lot quicker than these hard tyres are. We know how long the hards go. But the question is here, TK, even though we've seen the mediums be very strong on Leo Lund and not as strong on Ben Marples, I wonder what they're going to be like later in the Grand Prix when clearly Marples and Leo are going to go onto the hards and the guys on the hards are going to go onto the mediums.
Yeah, it's all about pit strategies now. Don't forget there will be a lot of teams having to go for either an undercut or an overcut, both of them starting on the same tyre or even risking that double stack. Of course, the calculations will be going on in their respective garages through Sector 2. We go at the moment, and I think we're a couple laps off yet any sign of a pit strategy. We're probably expecting that around lap 16 to lap 19 if any drivers do intend on going in. But Tope still leads the Grand Prix from Seisman, from Ricciardo. Of course, Ben Marple's trying to make up positions, but has looked rather unsuccessful so far. And Leo Lund seems to have had a moment taken away from us. Rishan Jacobs thought about a move down the inside in towards the hairpin. He was later on the brakes, better out of the traction zone, but the Hasgard just hanging on for dear life.
Yeah, it certainly is, but it got very close and personal there between Rishan Jacobs and Riccardo Benzoni, but unable to make that move stick. I mean, it's late on the brakes, but sometimes you just got to be late on the brakes. Obviously, these drivers are some of the best drivers we have here in PSGL. They're going to trust each other to make these moves stick, and that's what the most important thing is. When you go for an overtake on someone, you've got to trust they're not just going to ram into the side of you.
Yeah, very much so. Look at how the bunch, well, how close the group bunched together out of turn number 3. The long elongated right-hander, they're pretty much nose to gearbox all the way through that corner, and all it takes is one driver, maybe just a slip on the brake, slip on the accelerator, could send 4 or 5 even more cars into chaos.
Yeah, and it looks like Leo's slightly starting to struggle on the rears of his medium tyres here, and I wonder if all of that pushing he did at the start of the race is coming back to bite him with a little bit of rear tyre wear. He's getting a little bit of a wobble, and Angelo's definitely got the better grip now on these hard tyres. Is he going to repay the favour? No, he's not. Doesn't go down the inside because he knows coming in the next couple of laps, he's going to have the better tyre wear.
Yeah, he certainly will. I wouldn't be surprised if we are starting to see the hards become better than the mediums at the moment. We run down towards the Wall of Champions for the 12th time. It's still the Williams of Top 8 that leads from our pole sitter side, from Riccardo Benzoni finishing off the podium at the moment. We haven't seen anyone hit the wall with any degree of viscosity, but at the moment 2 penalties come the way of drivers. T.S. Korsman, I think Lucas Rapasa as well, got a 10-second for speeding in the pit lane.
Yeah, they certainly did. They're both in the pits, and they've chosen not to, well, they're obviously not coming to retire. One's coming for a change of front wing, and one's coming for a new tyre. So Korsman clearly going for an undercut, but unfortunately, picking up that 10-second time punt, he's basically going to ruin his race, unless, of course, the safety car comes out.
Yeah, exactly. It's a tough call there to try and make him come in this early. I mean, if the undercut's going to work, it'll work about now. But Williams still leading their teammate down in P8, Nelson Alves, trying to make up positions through this field. Ben Marples and Leo Lund, I think their tyres, as you said, starting to go off a cliff. This could be just Angelo D'Ortenzio down the inside of the hairpin. He's late on the brakes, and he's really reminding Leo that he is still there in his mirrors.
Yeah, and I wonder if this is going to change any sort of strategy here for Leo Lund. He's obviously going to have a strategy in his mind. His teammates, his pit crew are going to have one. As I thought Angelo was going to dive down the inside there, but obviously a little bit too late of a move for Mr. Angelo. As we are just going to see a move here. Rishan Jacobs has got the better exit. Riccardo Benzoni is under pressure into the first corner, but can Rishan Jacobs hold it around the outside? It's not a perfect corner to hold it around the outside, and Ben Marples had a sniff down the inside, but it was a little too late to go for such move, and he's stuck in P5. But Leo Lund also considered a move on him there, but didn't make it work.
Yeah, he thought about it for about half a second. Ben Marple was actually getting compromised out of the third corner. Couldn't quite get the traction, as he did have one Aston Martin just pulling across him, trying to save face for the Silverstone base team. We've had another driver in towards the pit lane. T.S. Korsman gets another 3-second penalty. That makes him equal on 13 seconds alongside Luca Rapasa. And now Tudor, the other Red Bull racing car, gets a 3-second to their name as well.
Well, it looks like a weekend to forget so far for Red Bull Racing, as we're actually going to see a couple of drivers making moves in the background there. Felipe Sousa, Liam Stevens and Sixten Linhart all changing positions as they move themselves through the grid. As we're going to see, is there a Haps car going for a move there? He thought about one on Seisman. That's Riccardo Benzoni thinking about it. As both Mercedes and Ben Marples. It's a 10-second time penalty for the McLaren of Ben Marples, as both medium runners came into the pits for new tyres. Marples must have been just over the speed limit.
Yeah, we've already seen 2 or 3 drivers fall foul of that now, and it's well known how quick the speed limit is in around here. Luca Rapasa getting another 3-second penalty to their name as well. We'll keep the penalties up on the screen, at least temporarily, to remind you what everybody is sat on. But the lead of the Grand Prix could be going the way of Seisman here as we head into the second sector. The McLaren at the moment pushing the Williams all the way through.
Certainly is. Now, of course, Leo Lund and Ben Marples, they are going for what is known as the undercut. Of course, if you don't know what the undercut is basically you pit before your rivals and you go hell for leather on those new set of tyres and make up the time you lost in the pit stop.
Yeah, and of course the adverse to that being the overcut. You typically stay out later, don't box as early, and you try and make the benefit of the tyre work at the end of the stint when you have more life left in them.
Certainly is, and obviously the guys on those hard tyres will be going for that strategy. And the guys on the mediums, obviously the ones that are pitted now, are going for that undercut strategy. And I think the undercut is going to be very powerful around here, TK, due to the fact everyone's stuck in a DRS straight.
I think you're right in some degree. Obviously, no one's able to make moves through the corners. They will be a little bit compromised. Piers Korsman picking up another 3-second penalty. I think that is a sign of a driver trying to push to catch back up to the rest of the field. You can see him temporarily off the back of Leo Lund and Ben Marples here. He wants to get into their DRS, but the penalties that he's accumulated over the course of this Grand Prix are sort of going to nullify any potential benefit of catching them a lap earlier.
Yeah, you know, it's going to sound bad, but it's kind of more of a test session for him now. He's got those time penalties, and I mean, you can't remove track limits warnings. Obviously, if he could removed his 10-second, he'd be on 6 seconds as Daniel makes a move on Daniel. The two Daniels battling it out there for the last points playing position, but the Ferrari of Daniel comes out on top.
Yeah, he does indeed. Luca Rapassa there getting another penalty to their name down at P20. 10, 16, 19 and 3. They are the penalties associated to our various drivers. And interestingly enough, Leo Lund and Harvey Cohen in for some good positions just based on those penalties alone at the moment.
Leo Lund has got in front of Ben Marples finally here, TK.
Well, it took a new set of tyres and a few cars off into the distance to be able to let him get through. Of course, Ben Marples, without that DRS assistance from the cars in front of him, left the Papaya McLaren rather vulnerable. Someone who's in a bit of a weird position at the moment is Tudor Presican down in P15. He's 2 seconds, nearly 3 seconds off the pack in front of him. But back 9 seconds is his teammate not available to help him out.
Yeah, it's a strange thing being, obviously you're off the pack, but you're also off the backpack. So you're kind of just sort of in this limbo of not really knowing what to do at this situation. I think the best thing for him is to stay out, maybe hope for a safety car and see what kind of result you can get at this point, because it's not kind of in a write-off weekend for them. Now, just having a look at the gaps of the leader, by the way, as Seidman takes the lead of the Grand Prix. He's up ahead of Tope there, and he now leads the Canadian Grand Prix and got a way better exit. Tope so careful on the accelerator and brakes going into that corner, and I wonder how much tyre wear is already affecting him, because I don't know if you saw that, TK, he was so cautious going into the Wall of Champions.
Certainly was. Someone who wasn't cautious there for about half a second was Sergio Sobrino, diving into turn number 2, wanted the move, and unfortunately it has cost him. He's now back within the midst of Jan as Ben Marple sets the fastest lap at Leo Lund. More importantly, gets a 3-second penalty to add to their race time.
It's not gone well for the guys on the undercut, because on the undercut they're having to push so hard, and it is so tricky to be able to push as hard as they have been and not pick up time penalties. And I mean, it might cost them later in the race, we don't know, because of course the guys that are leading are going to have to do the same thing, but of course they do not want to get those time penalties. So Rishan Jacobs very much defending here heavily from Angelo, trying to fight his way around the outside, can't make that move stick. Jan trying to fight with Sergio, and well, Sergio just getting that exit right, and the the Sauber into P8 there ahead of Jan, as we are probably going to start seeing some of these hard runners maybe think about pit stops in the next couple of laps.
Yeah, I wonder how long it's going to be until tyre concerns come in the way of our hard runners. I think we have got a few in the pit, Sixten Lundart and Tudor Presican as well, the Alpine and the Red Bull Racing driver, both of those heading in towards the pit lane at the moment though. Seisman, our pole sitter, still leads at the front of this pack. Top 8 from Riccardo Benzoni are your podium sitters. Battles are still getting close. The times look very close amongst our drivers, but no one's making moves. No one wants to commit until we get into the mid-30s. That's when we'll start seeing the dives down the inside.
Yeah, it certainly is. And the gap to the leader, if you guys are curious, on the for the guys on the undercut, is 15 seconds right now. 15 seconds, less than 15, just on to 14 seconds now. So Leo Lund and Ben Marples and Piers Korsman will jump ahead of the leaders.
Wow, this is going to be an interesting strategy. Of course, they'll have the better tyre at the end of this Grand Prix under the medium conditions, but at the moment, as you said, Leo Lund and Ben Marples, who pitted earlier, have got that extra traction, albeit with the penalties to their name. We'll have to try and deal with that. 3 drivers into the pit lane. Seidman, it will be Tope and Riccardo Benzoni. Everybody else staying out as Angelo takes a race lead into turn 2.
Yeah, it's got ahead of Rishan Jacobs, who had a terrible exit coming out of the Wall of Champions, and Angelo took full advantage of that. Maybe those tyres are starting to struggle there. So Ben Marples is effectively, TK, your net race leader. Now, of course, if you don't know what your net race leader is, he obviously was the first to pit out of this group. Everyone in front of him are yet to pit, which means he'll effectively be the race leader once the guys in front of him pit for their pit stop.
Yep, 9 more drivers who will have to dive into the pit lane at some point. Lap 20 of 35, and I wonder how long they're going to try and take these hard tyres that they have already started on. Angelo still leads the Grand Prix from Rashawn, from Nelson Alves as well. The two Williams have been looking very strong this weekend, trying to hold on to their championship fight. Of course, 1-2 in the standings at the moment. I think that might change after tonight.
Yeah, certainly will. These guys probably want to come in this lap because they do not want to be massively caught out by undercutters. Almost Sergio, look to try and take a move there. You wonder where all that cardboard's gone. He hit straight into the pit board.
Wow, I saw a lot of debris go flying. We'll keep an eye with Tope and Seisman as they're coming through the Wall of Champions now. Almost certainly will overtake these guys as they make their required pit stops as well.
They certainly will. I do apologise. As Tiers Korsman is in 5th, Marples in 4th, and Leo Lund in 3rd. Daniel and Jan still yet to pit in this Grand Prix. But Seisman is on the back of Tope. Tope only 2.5 seconds off the guys that made the undercut. That is not a huge gap to make up, TK.
It's not at all, especially over 15 laps of racing, easily doable, and they'll try and chase them down. DRS will be the main factor if the two groups can work together. One acting in a defensive manner, one acting in an attacking manner. It will really come down to strategy at the end of the day.
Certainly will, and Daniel is going to probably take the lead. Well, take what is currently the race lead, but I think he might just stick behind. Nope, he's going to go for it here. He wants the advantage in the pit stop. Can he slow it down? Yes, he can. They all slow it down, and the final runners to pit as Ben Marples takes the lead of the Grand Prix here as he passes Leo Lund. Effectively, he will be race leader, and he is now race leader. So the charge is now on. Everyone has made their pit stops, DK, and you want to probably show the engineers what they've all pitted onto.
They can have a look a little bit later. We'll focus on the racing for the time being. Jan and Daniel out of the pit lane. Where are they going to slot in? Just behind and ahead. Well, just ahead of Harvey Cohen there. Just behind the Alpine of 6 and Lundhart down in P15 and P13 respectively. Actually, it's a good pull at pit exit from Daniel, who managed to get the move done right at the final time of asking. But our top 3, all with penalties, are Ben Marples, Leo Lund, Tiers Korsman. Of course, Tope remaining penalty free.
Yeah, so basically everyone behind the top 3 have a free position at the moment in terms of if they can close in. Tiers Korsman, let's not forget, I believe he might be on 18 seconds of time penalties.
19, Luca Rapassa, my apologies, 22 seconds to his name. Ben Marples with 10, so it is a real interesting factor in this race. At the moment, Tiers Korsman will be finishing pretty much dead last.
He certainly will, and that is not where he wants to finish, especially considering he's running in 3rd at the moment. But of course, with time penalties, he will not be 3rd. Leo Lund has the best chance to get a good result because he's only got 3 seconds. If we've got a retirement that's in the pits that will not be causing a safety car, Luca Rapassa is out of this Grand Prix, our first retirement of the race. As Liam Stevens, your pick to win this Grand Prix, just made his move to 16th.
Yeah, I don't think the prediction might have been on the cards down in P20, but hey-ho. It's never over until that checkered flag flies, as you like to say, but our top 3 are trying to work together. Ben Marples and Tiers Korsman can't afford to let Leo Lund get out of that DRS range.
No, he certainly can't. That is not what they want at all. And Tiers Korsman is going to look for the overtake here on Ben Marples, or he's going to stick behind him because he knows it's better to play the game rather than make the overtake, because with these guys closing in behind, they are going to have the fresher tyres. They're going to have DRS. But if they've all got DRS, it's going to be harder for them to make the overtake. Yeah,
certainly will. And actually, the McLaren of Seidman has got DRS on Tiers Korsman. The group of 3, or should I say the 2 groups of 3, have become one. 6 cars now chased down onto lap 24 of 35. We've got 13 to go here in this Grand Prix.
We've got an incident there between the Saubers and the Ferrari of Camille, and that caused Camille to drop down into 14th place. I believe Sergio made the move into the final chicane, and it made Camille go wide. And he had to lose a couple of positions, hit the brake spark at Maud as well. So that's going to probably be investigated by the stewards. But of course, we won't mention that anymore because that is not our job. I'm glad I'm not a steward.
Yeah, very much so. Damage as well on Camille's car. Front right end plate missing for the Scuderia Ferrari, so that will explain his lack of pace and potentially explain any result of that damage that you said he had with one of the kick Saubers. But our front six continue to parade through this Grand Prix. We're going to go on to 25 of 35, 11 laps to go.
I've just gone for it.
Ooh.
He dived down the inside of Tiers Course, but he did not want to be held up by this Red Bull, as he's going to get a slipstream off his teammate of Ben Marple. But Tiers Korsman is going to get the chance. We're going to go 3 wide into the chicane. It's not going to work. But Seisman's cut the corner, but he's made it work. But surely that's an illegal overtake as well. He's got to let those places back.
Well, I'm sure the game will be yelling at him if that is the case. Riccardo Benzoni getting past Ben Marple's up to P5. And, well, I think he's already been punished for the corner cutting. 3 seconds will be added to his race time at the end. But at the moment, it doesn't look like he's facing any punishment for an overtake off the track. Potentially will be one that will be referred to the stewards at the end of the day. But Leo Lund continues to lead this Grand Prix from Seisman, from Tias. And then, of course, Top A and P4 is still in an amazing position to win this Grand Prix.
He certainly is. And Seisman's dive was maybe a bit too ambitious, but he went for it. He wanted to get in front and he wanted to get the gap, but it cost him big in a 3-second time penalty. I think he's very lucky to get away with not having a legal overtake. But Leo Lund's struggling on those hards, and I think Seisman's lining up for the overtake for the lead of the Grand Prix. Of course, he has that time penalty now, but all he can do is try and shoot off into the distance. Leo Lund will try his best, but there's nothing he can do against the power of DRS. And Seisman is in the lead once again. But now he's got 3 seconds. It's Top A's race to win, surely, here at the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve.
Yep, certainly will. All side by side for the Red Bull and Top A as well. Top A trying to swing around the outside of turn number 3. Not quite able to make it, but he's still alongside him towards turn number 4. And there we go. Has to concede the position. Never going to go too wide in towards one of the chicanes, with the Williams driver still hungry for this race win. Of course, knows the penalty situation for the drivers that stand in front of him, and will be looking eagerly awaiting to stand on the top step of that podium.
And Riccardo Benzoni's got a good shout as well. Do not count out Mr. Benzoni here in P5. He is right behind Top A. If he can get past Top A, then he has the race victory. It's going to come down to penalties, which we never want to see here in motorsport, but it always adds a little bit of intrigue to a Grand Prix, which has been fascinating here. We are on lap 26 of 35. We are already coming to the closing stages of this Canadian Grand Prix. And what a Canadian Grand Prix it is, and it's not over yet as Top A makes the move into P3, and that is a big move because Tiers Korsman, as much as he's driven fantastic races in the past, he will not want to remember this one for time penalties, and basically right now he's blockading certain drivers from making the move, and Benzoni is going to look at the inside. Oh, a huge lock-up from Korsman. He's absolutely locked the rears, and he's spun out of this race. We've got another retirement there in Sector 3. That's in the pit stop for Judah. I have not seen the like of that before, TK.
No, that's, well, an interesting incident there for Tiers Korsman. Still yellow flag in Sector 3. That's for the retirement of Tudor, of course. And we'll not be seeing a safety car, but that has well and truly knocked Tiers Korsman out of contention for the race win. Not that he was necessarily in it to begin with 22 seconds worth of penalties to his name. But I think he would have liked to try and get it on track, at least before penalties ripped it away from him.
It literally looked like someone pulled the handbrake on him and just spun the car around. But I imagine what's happened is he's gone into the braking zone, he's changed his brake bias, and he may have just had it a little bit too high, and it's locked the rears completely, and he's just spun round. It can happen to the best of us. As we race down here towards the to the Wall of Champions once again, Top A right up behind the front two. Top A doesn't need to make these moves. He doesn't need to get into the lead of the Grand Prix because he's already got it as it stands. But he knows in the back of his mind not only two things. He's a racer. He wants to win it on track. But he's got a hungry Haas car behind him. And he's got a hungrier Mercedes here in P5. Angelo is wanting this race victory here in F2.
He certainly will. Of course, got his first taste of PCF1 just a couple of weeks ago, and now we're looking to try and solidify that with a couple of race victories here in PCF2. He continues through lap 28 of 35 here, and as things stand, it is looking like it could go the way of a Veloce Academy podium, at least for himself, down in P3.
Yeah, he certainly will be getting at least a podium due to the time penalties front, but he'll want more than that. He's a racer. He's tasted PCF1, as you said, and he wants to get a victory here in PCF2. We've seen him get victories in F3. I believe he's got podiums here in F2, but I don't believe he's got a win. He's definitely not got a win this season, as Leo Lund goes around the outside of Seisman, but round the outside goes Tope, and he takes the lead of the Grand Prix in an incredible move, and the Williams driver leads here on lap 28 onto lap 29, and he truly leads as Riccardo Benzoni now finds his way into third. Can Seisman keep it around the outside? No, he cannot. All he can do is just defend it because Angelo's on the inside as well. Is Angelo going to send it down the inside? Oh, no, he won't. He won't, but it almost ended in catastrophe for both drivers.
Yeah, we thought about it for about half a second there, decided one corner isn't going to determine his entire race, and Seisman, very luckily for himself, holding on to P4 on the standings at the moment. But Tope, with an almighty move down that back straight, finds himself once again in the lead of the Grand Prix, being chased by the V-cover Leo Lund, who's looked so strong all afternoon, if it just wasn't for one of those penalties.
One little time penalty has cost him big, as Angelo has made that move, but Seisman trying to hide it down the inside, but he can't make it stick. Seisman's race is crumbling out of his hands. Another pole position where it's not going to convert to victory, as Nelson Alves is now going to look for a move on Seisman as well, and it gets worse for Seisman as he's now into P6, as Leo Lund retakes the lead of the Grand Prix, and I'm guessing maybe Leo thinks he can get that time penalty removed. There's always that possibility, TK.
I think, well, I have a feeling it might be, but of course maybe he's hoping that he can try and get that gap that he requires in front of him. He's only got 3 seconds to his name, as you can see on the broadcast at the moment, and anything that he can do to try and pull away from the Williams and the Haas and the Mercedes that stands behind him, he will throw his absolute everything at. But each DRS zone that comes his way is dragging these guys with him through every twist and turn here in Canada.
Yeah, and Leo Lund's just pulled out 0.8 of a second, but it's not enough to break the DRS because, as you say, he pulls it out the middle sector, and then the DRS zone closes them all together with 5 laps to go here at the Canadian Grand Prix. It's still anyone's race in this top 5. And I mean, Riccardo Benzoni is really hungry behind the back of Tope, and Angelo is as well. And Nelson Alves, don't forget about him as well. He's still in this Grand Prix. It's still anyone's race. I honestly don't know who's going to win this one.
I have absolutely no idea. I would not want to put money on this at the moment. We run down toward the wall of champions for the 30th time. 5 laps to go. Once we cross that chiming beam once again, and Leo Lund will take us onto that 5 countdown. Top 8 from Riccardo Benzoni, from Angelo D'Ortenzio as your top 4 at the moment. Of course, penalties galore here in Canada this afternoon.
Yeah, it certainly will be. I'm sure the stewards will be having an interesting evening once they work out all of the positions and where everyone has finished. And you can see the battery recharging there on Tope's car. You do not want to be, once again, TK, it's one of those circuits where you don't want to be leading on the last lap.
Yep, exactly that, or at least you don't want to be leading onto the penultimate lap either, because of how powerful that slipstream is down towards the wall of champions. The DRS very powerful, you're left stranded, and if you haven't got any battery charge, if you haven't got that DRS, you're almost certainly asking for a car to send one down the inside.
Certainly are, as Linhart picks up a time penalty as well. Just saw T.S. Korsman pick up another 3-seconder. As we're down the inside, is that one of the McLarens? And Ben Marples has absolutely sent it on Seisman from a long way back. The 2 McLarens are battling here at Canada. No papaya rules. Oh, it gets so close to the wall as Marples and Seisman still go wheel to wheel. Marples, I think, lets off the accelerator a little bit there. Does not want to come to blows with his teammate. That was incredibly close, TK.
It certainly was. I have no idea how they've managed to keep that one together. Angelo D'Ortenzio so close to Riccardo Benzoni, as is Nelson Alves as well. These 3 pretty much nose to gearbox, and everybody's starting to catch up. The top 12 now within a couple of seconds of each other. The closest gap back between Felipe Sousa and Daniel, P12 to P13 respectively. And the entire pack now back as a massive group together. Felipe Sousa all the way down, making a peloton group further back, and T.S. Korsman into the pits.
He's going for that fastest lap attempt. He's got nothing else to lose, I don't think, TK. He might as well go for it.
Yeah, I think you're right. It will be a set of soft tyres, and there we go, just confirmation. What tyres everybody else is on. Leo Lund, Ben Marples and Harvey Cohen all on the hards. T.S. Korsman on the softs, everybody else on the mediums. We see Nelson Alves get a move done on Angelo D'Attenzio in towards the hairpin. Sergio making a move, as is Jan, up for Ps8 and Ps10 respectively. We're going to keep watching the lead of this Grand Prix because we've got 3 laps to go.
Exactly. This is where the drivers earn their big money. This is where they've got to make those moves count towards the end of this Grand Prix. Nelson Alves, he's going to go for it here. The Williams driver, he's going to go around the outside. Oh, he's going to go around the outside of his own teammate. He sent it from miles back. Is he going to make 2 moves in the space of 1 corner? He won't. But Leo Lund will be loving this battle because, yes, TK, they're in the same team, but they are 1 and 2 in the championship. It is the gloves are off now as we come to the closing stages of this Grand Prix.
Yeah, we said it was going to happen. They're going to wait for the final few laps of this Grand Prix to start making those key moves on one another. Leo Lund still leads from top 8 from Alves, Riccardo Benzoni in P4, still licking his lips at an opportunity of the podium, as is Seisman Lukomski. And we'll still keep an eye on this battle. This lap goes by so quickly, considering the long back straight separated by that chicane into the Wall of Champions. And Leo Lund now has got a question to make. Is he willing to give up the race lead at the moment in any possibility of getting it back on the final run?
That is the question that we need to answer here. But the question I want to answer is which Williams is going to come out on top in this battle. Because surely they both do not want to lose this. Sergio gets his first 3-second time penalty. That's going to drop him down the order a little bit. And Tope closing in. He's not going to go for it in turn 1. We're on the penultimate lap here of the Grand Prix as Seisman is under pressure from Sergio here. Seisman just dropping down the order once again. It's not been the best of afternoons after his fantastic start on pole. Oh, Tope's had a massive snap and it's cost him big as he's almost lost out on DRS because of that snap, and Nelson thought about a move but didn't make it because it's his own teammate and it wasn't the best place to overtake.
Yeah, it was Patience that managed to avoid those two coming together. Interestingly enough, 1.5 laps to go here in Canada. It's still the V-Cub that leads, who's looked so powerful over the course of the season. T.S. Korsman getting the fastest lap of the Grand Prix, but keep an eye on Ben Marples, who pitted last time around to try and go for that fastest lap and steal it away out the death. We run down towards the Wall of Champions for the penultimate time. And now, who is going to lead us on to 35 or 35?
And Tope's going to go for it. Tope's going to go for it. He wants the buffer between himself and his teammate. And I think that's the smart decision as we race into the final lap here at the Canadian Grand Prix. And here comes Nelson Alves. He's going to go down the inside. No, there's no room. There's no room. Leo sends it around the outside. Is he going to be able to keep it? He's surely not got any tyre grip left. He's got no ERS left, but he can't make it stick. But it's frustrating for Nelson Alves, who can see his teammate sailing off into the distance. That's his race win that's being taken away as it stands.
It certainly is indeed. In towards Sector 2. 2 more sectors to go in this Grand Prix. Tope still leads. Of course, Leo Lund will be that acting buffer that Williams needs. It looks like T.S. Korsman's had an accident at the final run, or actually just slowing down, potentially going for his own fastest lap attempt. Part 2, of course, Ben Marples equally going for it down to P17. But we head in towards the hairpin now. It's do or die for any moves that won't want to be said. Riccardo Benzoni not about to move down the inside on Nelson Alves. He's going to get it done. There's damage flying everywhere. Cars are losing pieces of front wing. And now we charge towards the Wall of Champions. T.S. Korsman gets disqualified from the session for too many penalties. Riccardo Benzoni up to P3 on track at the moment. But Tope in the Williams will come across the line first. Oh my goodness, in the background, Nelson Alves, but Tope wins the Canadian Grand Prix. Riccardo Benzoni gets P2 and Angelo D'Attenzio will join him on the podium.
What has happened on that final corner? Nelson Alves is missing a front wing and somehow Tope has won that race with Riccardo Benzoni in second and Angelo in third. What a Grand Prix, and the stewards have got a messy evening to clear up this mess. But Leo somehow still finishes in P7 after all that.
I have no words to quote. Is Ben Marples going to be able to get the fastest lap at the final time of asking? He'll come up towards the line. He does. He steals it from T.S. Korsman. So good play there from the McLaren, who knew he was out of the points, but stealing points away from another team member. 17th place is where he will finish. And boy, oh boy, what a night to not be a steward. Hey, Alex.
Certainly is. I wouldn't want to be a steward at all. Yeah, this is very interesting indeed. But of course, that means we have another. Well, we've got a same race winner this season with Top 8 taking the victory. We'll go through the grid order after the trophy celebrations. Now, Top 8 wins the Grand Prix from third on the grid. Riccardo Benzoni does finish in second, with Angelo picking up that third place finish. Daniel from 15th to 4th. What a race for him, and Nelson Alves does finish in P5, but there was controversy on that last lap. Rishan Jacobs in 6th, Leo Lund in 7th, Seisman in 8th from pole position. He will want to forget that Grand Prix. Jan in 9th, and Sergio gets your last points playing position. And Harvey Cohen, Daniel, Felipe Sousa, Sixten Linhart, Camille, Leon Stevens, and Ben Marples round out your top 17. Tudor, Luca Rapassa, and T.S. Korsman were your non-finishers, but T.S. Korsman was actually disqualified for too many.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen a driver disqualified, let alone in PSGL F2. But again, I'm sure the stewards will have their work cut out for them this evening, trying to figure out exactly how to handle that race end. And I'm sure there'll be multiple point of views to see how it goes. But once again, the team from Grove getting the almighty W over the course of this race. 2 drivers retiring in the pit lane respectively. No one crashing out at the Wall of Champions or any other walls for that perspective. And let's see if anybody is going to come in for a chat in a little bit. But Alex, who would you say is your biggest winner out of the course of that race?
You know what? Just looking at the thing, I mean, obviously Top 8, great race from him, goes third. But you know what? Even though he finished in 7th place, I'm going to give it to Leo Lund as my driver of the day. I mean, the guy was incredible in pace. And I think he's very unlucky to pick up that 3-second time penalty. And also, I think he's very unlucky at the end to be caught in the way he is. He's saying in chat that apparently he lost P5 there at the end.
Yep, I think he did, and I think he might have got caught up in that incident. We'll give a few seconds for our drivers to have a little bit of a debrief with their engineers and go through everything that they want to. I think Riccardo Benzoni's already decided that he doesn't want to speak to the media, which is fair enough. Nobody, we're not Ted Kravitz. Sorry, we're not Martin Brundle. Nobody is required to speak to us.
Yeah, it's not a requirement, unlike it is on Martin's grid. Hang on. There we go. I'm back. Sorry, everyone. I had a slight game freeze there because I tried to close F124. It doesn't like closing. It really doesn't.
It doesn't like it when you walk for it.
No, it really doesn't. Task managing it is just an absolute shame. But yeah, I think no one unfortunately is going to turn up for interviews here.
Doesn't look like it,
which is fine. It's what it is. For you guys don't want interviews, that's all good for us. But what it does mean is we are going to end today's stream. But before that, we will tell you what is going to be happening next in our next round as we come up towards what I believe. I think we're getting closer to our winter break as well, if I'm not mistaken. I'm just going to have a quick look at the calendar.
So we have Qatar up next.
Yes, Qatar
and then
up next.
our break week for the first time.
Yeah, 1 break week, which will be obviously course November 21st. But we are back on November 14th in Qatar. And I think it's going to be a fantastic race. Qatar, of course, isn't necessarily known for its great wheels of real racing in real life, but in sim racing seems to always give a little bit of a surprise.
Certainly does. It's one of those tracks that I think I absolutely love, and you know, Qatar being a MotoGP circuit at first and being developed into an F1 track, or being converted rather into an F1 track during that weird COVID season. I'm actually a massive fan.
I am as well. I think it's a very interesting circuit, and I quite enjoy watching drivers race around there. But of course, that is the end of our PSGL action. Of course, if you are clamoring for some more PSGL, you can find us on all your socials, on Instagram, on Twitter. You can join our Discord. You can find us on TikTok. And of course, you can follow us on Twitch and on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe, get your notifications on so you don't miss a stream. Of course, we had PSGL F4 through F2 this afternoon. So make sure you tune in for those next week as well. But we'll be back, myself and TK, for F2 next Thursday at 8 p.m. TK, anything else to say?
Nothing further. It's been a pleasure, as always, to have yourself in the box. And I'll see you again next Thursday.
Yes, and I will see you again next Thursday. So thank you, everyone, for watching, and we'll see you again.